So welcome everybody to our meeting. We've got a couple of little procedural things we need to do from council perspective before we get into our educational session. But just bear with us for a minute or two. So first of all, we need to adopt the agenda. The recommendation that the agenda for the January 27th, 2025 regular meeting of council be accepted and passed with the following deletion. And that is the public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment 19/24. And then of course the passage of the associated bylaw with that public meeting bylaw number 003-2025 will also be deleted from tonight's agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Burke, Councillor Hearn, thank you. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. I'll have to go around for disclosure of pecuniary interest. I have none to declare on anything on tonight's agenda. Councillor Burke?
Yes. 2B and 2C. At prior council meetings, I've declared an indirect pecuniary interest as both of these development projects my employer has worked on.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rankin?
I have none.
Okay, Councillor Hearn?
Yes, 4A, the vendor check register report. My husband is employed by one of the payees. Report.
Okay. And Councillor McCabe?
I have none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into a closed meeting session. My paperwork straightened out here. With a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North go into a meeting at 5:32 p.m. that is closed to the public under subsection 239, number 2 of the Municipal Act 2001, specifically to deal with item 3.1, a meeting of a council or local board or of a committee of either of them that may be closed to the public if the following conditions are both satisfied. Number 1, the meeting is held for the purpose of educating or training the members. And number 2, at the meeting, no member discusses or otherwise deals with any matter in a way that materially advances the business or decision-making of the council, local board, or committee. And we also have a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Burke, Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried, so we're in closed.
Just let me pause the recording and lock the meeting. Just a sec. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North rise from a closed meeting session at 7:11 p.m. I get a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor McCabe and Councillor Hearn, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. A recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the Wellington North Power Inc. education and training. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CLK 2025-002 transfer parcel from estate, and that council approve the confidential direction to staff. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Hearn, Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North approve the closed meeting minutes, the December 2nd, 2024 council meeting. Did I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor McCabe, Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that brings us out of the closed session. Karen, we have on our agenda Canada. Do we want to proceed with that in this format? No, we'll skip that this time. And you said Phil Baird said he's not available, so we will have to put off the presentation from Maitland Valley Conservation until a later date. Okay, that brings us to deputations. We have a couple of deputations. I'm not sure if everybody's already here or not, but a couple of board members from the Arthur BIA. And then following that, we have a presentation from Andrew Coburn, Chair of Mount Forest BIA.
I'll just email them and let them know.
Okay, we'll just hang tight for a minute or two till we see where everybody is in this virtual world we're living in tonight. Aaron, if we're having trouble connecting them with them, we could go on with some other business.
Yeah, and
I'll try and get an email out to them.
Okay, so we've got some minutes we could deal with here. Why don't we deal with some of that, move on to some other business, and then as soon as we have the people available for the deputations, we can switch back to that. So with that, we'll deal with the adoption of the minutes of the council meeting from January 13th. I have a recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on January 13th, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Hearn and Councillor Burke, thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have some business arising from previous meeting in terms of a notice of motion. And from Councillor Rankin that was introduced on January 13th, and we have a recommendation that council direct staff prepare a report on the feasibility of clearing the track at the Mount Forest Community Center in the winter to accommodate dog walkers who use it daily, many of whom are seniors. I assume that's moved by you, Councillor Rankin. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McCabe. Any discussion on that motion? So just to make sure I'm clear, we're asking staff to put together a report on the ability to be able to clear this, and I assume the costs associated with it as well. Okay. All those in favor then? That's carried. Thank you.
We have the BIA members here. Angela, is Paula, who is in the meeting, is she joining as part of your delegation?
I had asked her to come, Karen, just in
Okay.
case council had any questions. So
Okay, I'll move her into the meeting then.
Okay,
Sorry.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so we'll jump back to our deputations part. I assume CM is Chris McIntosh. There he is. So first we have the Arthur BIA, both Angela Limo and Chris McIntosh, and I think Paula is joining you as well, Angela.
Please. Yeah.
So we'll just give her a minute to. Oh, there she is. So I'll just I'll hand it over to you, Angela, and you can work with your colleagues to stick handle who's doing what when. I'll let you have that. And so with that, I'll turn it over to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Lennox, members of council. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our Arthur BIA 2025 work plan. We're all very excited and engaged in presenting the plan. Well, you probably have a copy of our work plan in your materials. I'd like to walk you through some of the main components this evening. Firstly, we're implementing the recommendation of your Town Rising team in that this year we anticipate extending the reach of our flowers to the bridge at the south end of the BIA district. We're also having to replace 2 of our planters that were damaged, and we'll also be refurbishing some of the poppies that are in front of the Legion. In the hopes of making information readily accessible to our members and the public, we're looking at installing a message board in the downtown area, We would like to create a website, and we're looking at purchasing tools to assist with hybrid meetings. We'll also be looking for additional grants and funding to assist us in the financial aspects of the work plan. We're also considering taking up the mantle of the Arthur by the Fire event and manage sponsorship, and also exploring running another Sip and Savor event that was very successful in the fall. We've also decided to apply for an OBIA award in the category of streetscaping and public realm improvements, showcasing our icons of Arthur banners and QR wraps. We had a very good community and visitor response to the interactive display, and we think it would be wonderful if the Arthur BIA could be recognized for that innovation. We're also needing to replace the 2 banners that we currently have at the bump out area this year, and we're wanting to add 2 additional icon banners, engaging the community this time in selecting the icons. With respect to the banners, we've been provided with a draft policy. I'm not sure whether council has seen it as yet. And as part of that policy, there's a banner installation schedule, which again does not follow our April 25th, 2024 resolution, which anticipates the Pride banners going back up after Canada Day. Not sure that this evening is an appropriate time to discuss this matter, but I'd like to ensure that we have a thoughtful discussion with council on the matter as soon as possible in order to ensure that the banners go up in a timely fashion this year. With that, this concludes a quick run through of the BIA's work plan, and I'm happy to pause here to answer any questions that council may have, following which Treasurer Chris McIntosh will present the budget.
Okay, thanks, Angela. Any questions, comments from council at this point? Okay, I would just add, Angela, the flag banner policy that you referenced is so far as a working document that staff have been working on. It hasn't come to council for approval yet. I know that staff are working very hard at trying to balance all the push and pull things we get with regard to these things. And I know it's a draft at this point that has been shared with you at the BIA. My expectation is we will get that to a more refined format and bring it before council in the coming days, but it hasn't got to that stage yet in the process. And certainly in that process, there's opportunity for input to that policy as we're trying to balance the needs of all the various interests in the community. And your point is well taken about the discussion. I do think it's a valuable discussion, but I'm not sure that we're quite ready to have that full discussion at this point.
I didn't think that it was at that stage yet, Mr. Mayor. So that would be perfect if we could be involved in the implementation and the creation of the policy. That would be wonderful.
Any other questions, comments from council before we move on? Okay, so I guess I'll hand it off to you, Chris, at this point. Is that the way this is working?
Yes. So
Do you want me to share that screen? Do you want me to share that budget?
yes, if you would, please. So the budget has been developed based on historical numbers, some specific numbers for costs for this year. Others are going to be dependent on where charges come through. The revenue stream is just based on historical numbers in the BIA, and then the levy, property levy of $367.50, which is a 5% increase over the previous levy. And I don't know if that's gone to council yet or not. So somebody can correct me.
That's on today's agenda.
Okay, very good. So that's assuming that increase is accepted. The other items are all, as Angela suggested. These, as I mentioned, are based on historical values, and they're all that numbers that have been in the past. Everything that we've done in the past. The only thing would be the last item is the communication and technology improvements, and that is a combination. That $4,500 is a combination of a website development, of an owl for hybrid meetings, that kind of technology, and also for sharing in the cost of community message boards that the township, I believe, has already started in that process. And the only other item, the very first item, is the township loan repayment. We're in year 4 of 10, and that is a prescribed payment from the schedule that was given to us when we originally borrowed the monies from the township for the downtown work. And you will notice at the bottom that we do have that's not a surplus, that should read deficit. Again, there's some flexibility in that, and we do have funds currently of $16,000, which we would use to fund that deficit if we completed all of those projects.
Councillor McCabe?
Sorry, thank you. And through you, Mayor Lennox. Sorry, Chris, could you just repeat what you just said? I just didn't hear what you said. If you've done all those projects, then what would you have in the bank? Sorry?
If we complete all the projects that we have highlighted there, that would be a deficit for this year's budget of $6,100
Okay.
approximately. We presently have $16,375 in our current account. That's our current operating balance.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Chris? Okay. Thanks very much for that, Chris. Angela, Chris, Paula, do you have anything further you wanted to discuss at this point?
Oh, thank you. I think that was all of my comments for the work plan.
Great. Thank you all for participating and providing that context for council. I know that we are dealing with both the Arthur and Mount Forest BIA work plans and budget later in our meeting. So certainly is timely, and very much appreciate you taking the time out on a blustery Monday night.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll now flip over to the Mount Forest BIA and welcome Andrew for joining us for this. This is 2 meetings in a row for you in different hats you're wearing, but good to see you.
Roll.
Welcome on behalf of the Mount Forest BIA.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lennox, fellow councilors and staff. Appreciate you bringing me here tonight to share our work plan. Karen, are you going to share the work plan similar to
Well,
Arthur's?
yours were in the minutes, so I didn't pull them up, but I can just
That's
quickly.
okay.
Okay.
I can proceed, Karen, if you want to share them after, but
They're in the agenda package. Everyone has a
okay.
copy of them.
Okay, yep, that's fine. Again, thanks for having me. This was actually welcomed to get the invite tonight. I know that the Mount Forest BIA a few times could wish we could collaborate with the township a little bit more on some items. So I appreciate you inviting me tonight. Unfortunately, I don't have our treasurer here to share the budgeting, but I'll go over the budget and our work plan for 2025 from a high level. First off, I'll just touch on kind of what we've done in the last few years. This is my 6th year as chair of the Mount Forest BIA. We're really proud of what we've done. I think we've invested quite heavily in our hardscapes on our main street, along with some events. This is something that we've just picked up the last couple of years. So we're from the BMO hardscapes to the Heritage Building, maybe to the old Roxy. Maybe those projects don't resonate with everybody, but these are projects that we've done over the course of the last few years that we're quite proud of. It's been a lot of work. So entering into our 2025 work plan, we have an opening balance of just over $48,000, and with the tax levy being slightly increased because we did lose one role, I believe. We're down to 82 from 83. So we increased the tax levy slightly to just over 365, or we've proposed an increased tax levy of just over 365. So our total forecasted revenue for 2025 is $85,000. However, as we take a look at our work plan, we do continue to look to carry on the flowers. The flowers have always been very very well received in our town, and we do look to expand on that this upcoming year. But the bulk of our budget, we're going to focus towards hardscapes again. We have been working a little bit back and forth with Robin and Karen of the township, trying to find the ownership to a piece of property downtown that we want to invest in. We're coining this the Reimagined Laneway. It's next to the Pizza Hut building. This is a laneway right now that's um, less than cared for at the moment, and we think that it'd be a nice area to invest in to kind of make our hardscapes downtown a little more welcoming. We also just completed the outdoor gallery, which is across the street near Meet the Butchers, which brings up a lot of paintings and signage and some lighting to what once was a dark alley. So we just finished that project up that we're happy with. We also do continue, we want to continue our event marketing this year. We're going to continue again with our fireworks donation. We also started Christmas decorations, or sorry, tree lighting a couple years ago, 2 years ago, sorry. And with that is the snowflakes, which we have to again reinvest in more snowflakes and lighting. The other primary project that we're trying to put to come to fruition this year is the downtown lighting. We feel our downtown core is dimly lit and doesn't really present well in the evenings. Our board's been working on this for upwards of 2 years now, trying to find a company that would substitute the infrastructure internally in the light casing so that we can use LED lights, which would provide a brighter ambiance, a safer ambiance, and there's also would be substantial savings there to the township as well once we switch to LED. This is a project that we're hoping we can get some final terms for in the next quarter. If we are able to receive firm quotes, we would like to discuss further with the township on how we can collaborate on this project, as it's a good benefit for all. So with that, our primary items is two hardscape projects, the downtown tree lighting, and also snowflakes with the downtown telephone pole lighting as well. So as we take a look, those are our primary focus here going into this year. We're quite excited. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, we've tackled 3 or 4 nice large projects each of the last year. So we would like to continue it this year. We're just having a bit of a stumbling block right now, trying to push a couple projects, being held up just by ownership of land, and also trying to find a contractor that would be able to assist us with the replacement of the lighting. So we are entering the year with our budget does come in at a net loss of over $23,000. We're not, it's kind of reserve because we don't know if all these projects will come to fruition. With the garbage happening this year and also the replacement of some bins, we are allocating funds there accordingly, so that if it does come to fruition, we may have to seek a loan. However, these are projects that we've had in our scope and in our vision for a couple of years now, and we don't really want to give up on these projects. We just think that if we can continue to enhance our Main Street hardscapes, provide some more events, and make it a better place for all building owners and vendors and community as a whole, these are items that we take a lot of pride in. We want to keep them on our work plans. So I appreciate you inviting me here tonight. I'm open for any questions with regards to our work plan and budget.
Thanks, Andrew, and I apologize about my dog barking mid-sentence on you.
No
I guess
problem.
I should have muted my microphone so that didn't happen, but I have one question, then I'll open it up to other members of council.
Yep.
With regard to your lighting project, is it the hardware that's the challenge to fill this, or is it a contractor to actually do the work, or is it both?
It's a combination of both, Mayor Lennox. We're having a tough time trying to get firm quotes from contractors because it does involve multiple parties. There is a boom truck or a bucket truck, sorry, that's required. And just to get, it's not a real large expenditure, the project, we don't feel. We have general indications, but in order to bring it to council or bring it back to the township, we need to have a firm number in order to engage in discussions that we could see a potential resolution. We just feel like downtown's a little dim compared to other towns that have taken this initiative the last few years. So we're struggling to get a contractor to really quite commit because we don't quite know what the entire project entails.
Okay. So, but you have a source of the hardware necessary. It's just a question of putting
Yeah.
all the pieces together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because just for them to do a formal scope or proposal, I should say, we need to get a bucket truck and get up there and try to understand what is all in that current lighting casement.
Okay. I have a few contacts I'll maybe reach out to that might be able to assist in that, see whether I can add anything to that. But I'm sure you guys are already tapped into a number of opportunities. But if I can help, I'd like to try. And if I do, I'll get in touch probably with you and see where we can go from
I
there.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Questions or comments from other members of council? Councilor McCabe?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox, just on that lighting, could we not kind of collaborate with Wellington North Power on this? Or are you already, or did I miss that part?
Sorry, I
We
just
did,
I
we
didn't
did
quite
an
catch it.
operation. Sorry, we did a while ago in Arthur, we replaced all the downtown lights with LED. And excuse me, pretty sure Wellington North was a part of that. Have they been approached with this project, I guess, Andrew?
I'll have to check in on the member who is the lead on this one, Councilor McCabe. I'm pretty sure they have been. Yes,
Okay.
pretty sure. Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to loan them out if they're that busy and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, we've got them right there, and I know they did some work in Arthur a couple of years ago doing that. So just thought
They're a big help for us. Yeah, they've always been really good to us. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions or comments for Andrew? I'm not seeing any. So again, thank you, Andrew. And I should have said this to the Arthur group too. Thank you to you and your board members for volunteering to take this on and lead the BIAs. And this applies to the Arthur group as well, to help make our downtowns the most attractive parts of our community. And certainly it sends a message to when our downtowns look good, people's first impression of our communities is shaped by that. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. I'll be sure to relay that through the board. Thank you. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Good night, Andrew.
Good night.
Do we need a motion to receive those deputation? We don't, do we, Karen?
No, because you're going to pass motions a little bit later.
Right. Okay. All right, so we'll move on. We are down to items for consideration. And I have pulled out for further discussion, identified 2A, 2B, 2C, 3A, 3B, 4A, and 5A. Have I missed any?
I don't think so.
Okay. So with that, we'll approve everything else with the following recommendation. That all items listed under items for consideration on the January 27th, 2025 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved, and the recommendations therein be adopted. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor Burke and Councilor McCabe, thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. So we'll go back to, sorry, while I shuffle my paper here, 2A. And this is in regard to the Eastridge Landing Subdivision Phase 5, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and draft plan of subdivision. There's two recommendations on that. So we'll deal with the first recommendation. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the planning report from Curtis Marshall, Manager of Development Planning, County of Wellington, dated January 16th, 2025, regarding East Ridge Landing subdivision phase 5, OPA 2024-02, zoning bylaw amendment 15/24, and draft plan of subdivision 23T-24002, Section 1, Part Lot 1 in West Luther, Parts 5 and 6, Registered Plan 61R21786 in Arthur, recommendation report. Did I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCabe, Councilor Rankin, thank you. Any discussion on that recommendation? All those in favor? It's carried. And the second recommendation coming out of that report is that council supports the proposed official plan amendment regarding East Ridge Landing subdivision phase 5, OPA 2024-02, zoning bylaw amendment 15/24, and draft plan of subdivision 23T-24002, concession 1, Part Lot 1 West Luther, Parts 5 and 6, Registered Plan 61R21786 Arthur, and the township clerk notify the county of Wellington of this position. And further, the council supports the proposed draft plan of subdivision, and the township clerk notify the county of Wellington of this position. And further, the council supports the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and the final amending bylaw be brought to council for approval once the county of Wellington has rendered a decision on the official plan amendment. Can I get a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councilor Burke and Councilor Hearn, thank you. Questions, comments, discussion? Okay, not seeing any. All those in favor? It's carried. Okay. We'll move on to 2B. This is regarding site plan agreement for Canadian Storage Holdings, Inc. We have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report DEV 003-2025 regarding the final approval of the Canadian Storage Holding Inc. Site Plan Control Agreement. Did I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCabe. Seconder, Councilor Hearn, thank you. Questions, comments, discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2C. This is a notice of decision with regard to the consent application B19-24. We have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information report DEV 2025-004 regarding the notice of decision for the following consent application received from the County of Wellington Planning and Land Division Committee. This is for application B19-24 for Karen Kammermeyer, parts lots 10 and 11, concession 2, with a civic address of 8449 line 2 in the former Township of West Luther. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that recommendation? Councilor McCabe, Councilor Rankin, thank you. Any discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councilor Hearn.
Yeah, just a comment. I know we're receiving it, but I am very disappointed that the committee felt the application was appropriate and excluded the following conditions that we requested. I don't know what else we do to make them accept our conditions, but I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I think the only recourse we're left is to appeal the decision.
I know.
And that's rather unpalatable to appeal our sister municipal government's decision. But if I think if the message doesn't come through at some point, we may have to look at that in the future if we're really determined to stick to the principles and the policy directives of the surplus farm dwelling severance program. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Move on to 3A. This is in regard to this is a lengthy recommendation.
Sorry.
With regard to the BIAs. So, sorry, I'm gonna read it just because there's a lot of stuff in here. Apologize for me droning on, but so the recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report C and ED 2025-001 Business Improvement Area Update. And the council approved the 2025 work plan, budget and tax levy of $365.85 per property as presented and approved at the November 13th, 2024 Mount Forest BIA Annual General Meeting. And further, the council approved the 2025 work plan, budget and tax levy of $367.50 per property as presented and approved at the November 20th, 24 Arthur BIA Annual General Meeting. And further, that the following be appointed as Mount Forest BIA directors: Andrew Coburn, Dwight Benson, Bill Nelson, Jessica McFarland, Maggie Schramm, Rachel Wedham, Amanda Boylan, Allison Litt, Aaron Kears, and Kyle Delaire. And further, that the following be appointed as Arthur BIA directors: Angela Limo, Chris McIntosh, Paula Coffey, Gord Blythe, Jim Coffey, Sheila Faulkner, and Mitch Kirsten. Did I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councilor McCabe, seconded by Councilor Rankin. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox, I just wanted to bring this up just to more thank all of the directors for both Arthur and Mount Forest BIA. I know we think we have a thankless job. I think they do as well, and I don't think they get as much recognition as they should. So the only reason I wanted to pull this was to thank them, and hopefully they can we can help continue to support them as they support our downtown communities. And we heard both of their reports tonight, and I think we're on great footing with both of them. And financially, I think they're doing all right as well. So that's also good to see.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councilor Hearn?
Yes, I'd like to thank them as well, but go beyond that. I think our two communities are looking better than ever, to be honest, and they deserve a ton of credit for that. They work really hard.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Move on to report with regard to the community improvement plan. Not to be confused with the business improvement area. I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report C and ED 2025-007 Community Improvement Plan, and the council approve a building conversion and improvement grant in the amount of $5,000 to Ramath Life Center, 119 Wellington Street West, Mount Forest, for a new driveway and parking area. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Councilor Rankin, seconded by Councilor McCabe. Questions, comments, discussion? Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox, I had asked for this, and then I had got my answer already. I had thought that I had mistakenly thought that this building was for sale, and it's not this building at all. So I had questioned the validity of why they would need $5,000 if they were selling the place, but I had mistakenly taken had the wrong spot. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I would just add a comment with regard to the community improvement plan. The report highlighted the number of activities that have happened through this program over the past number of years, and this one, while not on the main street, is close to the main street and certainly plays into the appearance and well-being of our community, and I think it's very worthwhile organization to support. So I'm glad that we're able to do so. That I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 4A, the vendor check register report. We have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the vendor check register report dated January 20th, 2025. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor Burke. And Councillor McCabe, thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Burke?
Yeah, I inadvertently pulled this one by mistake, but it is something that I find a little bit concerning in the fact that um, I feel that there are a lot more entries that have been redacted, and specifically for some larger amounts. I noticed that there is repeatedly entries for $1,900, and I'm sure that that can probably be answered fairly quickly as to why we have so many entries for that particular amount. And I do understand to a degree why we redact it, but we also approve it with some redactions. And I know that I just feel that the dollar values continue to increase, and I feel like there are more entries that are being not titled or labeled as to where those funds went. So I'm just wondering if there, without going into specifics, if there's a way that we could move forward to get those specific answers, or should we be talking to the Treasury Department?
So I'm making a little bit of an assumption, but I believe that redactions are really to protect privacy, and for us to discuss it in any more detail in open session would be inappropriate at the present time. But I think there probably is avenues that we could use, Councillor Burke, if you have specific concerns that might be either dealt with in closed session or a one-on-one question with staff. But I see Jerry has joined the conversation, so I'll let him weigh in on this as well.
For you, Mayor Lennox, you've hit it right on the spot. A lot of the reasons why those names are redacted because it's of personal nature. These are individuals that have done transactions with a township on their personal name as against a company or a corporation. An example of some of those last transactions would be returns that we make on building permit application deposits. So those numbers can vary all the way from up to $16,000, $20,000, and those are large amounts. But those were applied for individually as against through a corporation, and that's why those names are redacted from the check register. But some other members of this body have inquired on specific payments, and as a department, we're able to provide those updates on a one-on-one basis when asked.
So I guess my advice, Councillor Burke, at this point would be speak to staff directly, and if you're not satisfied with the answer, then it's something we maybe need to deal with in a closed session in the future.
Okay, thank you. I know why we do that. I was just concerned at the fact that the numbers seem to be increasing, not necessarily dollar wise in all cases, but the number of items. So I'll continue to monitor it and connect with Jerry as needed.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 5A. This is the Clerk Department's 2024 year-end review of a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received for information report Skill K 2025-001, Clerk's Department 2024 year-end review. Yeah, that's the end of that one. Sorry, I was wondering if there was more to it, but could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCabe, Councillor Rankin, thank you. Questions or comments on that? Councillor McCabe? You're muted, Steve.
Jeez, after like 5 years of this stuff, you'd think I would learn. Jeez. I was on a streak. No, I wanted to bring this out and into the public because I know Karen and her department do a lot, but to have it actually written out and to see what actually has gone on and what she does take care of. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in there that has been missed. Like watching people with cattle out to make sure they're safe at all hours of the day on the way home or on the way to work. But I just wanted to put a plug in for you, Karen, and your department. You've done an amazing job since I've been on council and since you've been on township staff. And I just wanted to really thank you and bring it to light that man, there's a lot going on, and it's tough to keep track of everything that's going on, and you always seem to have the answers when we need them as well. So thank you,
great.
and thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for what you do.
Thank you. And it's important to realize it takes a village to make the clerk look good. So that would be Kathy, Tasha, the front staff, everybody. Like everybody's got a hand in it. So when I'm out chasing those cows, Steve, somebody else is answering the phone. So there you go.
No, and please do pass that on to the rest of your staff, and then in general, staff in general, Brooke, as well.
Any other questions or comments in regard to this report? Councillor Burke?
Yes, so I always like to highlight this as well because I think that this is one of those departments that's the real hub of the municipality. They're the keepers of many services that our residents use to carry out their lives, and they also keep us on track by helping us with, as Steve or Councillor McCabe has alluded to, when we have questions, they have the answers, and they put together agenda packages that are well written with lots of background information. So thank you to the clerk's department.
Thank you. On behalf of them all. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I would add, I think it's great to include this report in our agenda packages. People are aware of some of the services, more physically aware of some of the services we deliver as a municipality. I mean, the people know the roads get plowed and the sidewalks get cleared. They don't necessarily see the day-to-day work of the clerk's department, though, and it's a huge variety of different activities and largely out of sight. So this helps bring some visibility to it, and I think that's productive.
Okay.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our items for consideration. So we'll move on to notice of motion. Any notice of motion this evening? Not seeing any. I'll move on to community group meeting program report. Anybody have anything they'd like to report on? Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. I did miss the excuse me, SPCA's annual general meeting. It was on Friday, and I was on my way down to Roma, which leads me into the Roma meeting. It was extremely well attended. We had the most delegations requested, and then the most delegations actually given by the province since they've moved to this format of having delegations at the OGRA and joint Roma meeting, and then obviously as Roma's on its own. As of the Saturday night, there was just a little over 1,900 people registered for Roma, and that was probably going to set a record for the last 5 years. So there's a lot of interest in rural municipality politics and the provincial interaction as well. And I wanted to thank those who from our council that went to the meetings.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to report on? Councillor Kern?
Yes, reporting on the GRCA meeting, which was last week. We have a new chair and a new vice chair. So previously, Chris White was the chair and Sue Foxton and North Dumfries was the vice chair. Now the chair is John Challoner from Milton, and our vice chair, Sean Waters from Center Wellington.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, so I'd just like to let everyone know that the Mount Forest Fireworks Festival Committee has started their meetings. So they are actively working on events and looking for some new ideas as well for the committee or for the festival this year, which is the third weekend in July. So mark that in your calendar because they're going to need volunteers as well for a variety of community events. And also just wanted to let council know that the Mount Forest Aquatics ad hoc advisory committee had a meeting last week. So as you know, we are still actively working with our corporate campaign. We kind of let folks rest over the holiday season, but we're looking forward to getting back on track and making some more presentations out to folks within the community.
Anybody have anything else they'd like to report on? Councillor Rankin.
Thank you. Just like to report that the Artisan Showcase will be going ahead the last Saturday in September. And we've already been working on having other artisans there. So we're hoping for a bigger and better show than we had last year. And hopefully the last week in September, I believe, may be in a location to accommodate both it and the farmers market. So one will hopefully work off the other. So that's it.
I just wanted to add some comments building on both Councillor McCabe and Councillor Burke's comments. Roma Convention, there was a lot of activity and stuff that was worth participating in there. And just on a personal note, I wasn't able to get to all the sessions I wanted to, but I had the opportunity to watch one of the sessions I missed on TVO the other night. So it was a good discussion on water and wastewater financing and funding issues. So that's a kind of a hot topic as our communities grow. And I also wanted to give a particular shout out to Councillor Burke as she led us through the discussion with the Associate Minister of Sport to hopefully access some funds for the Mount Forest pool. And her passion was clear in the meeting for the project. And thank you for that, Councillor Burke. That's one of the delegations we had, and you did a great job of conveying the message on the township's behalf. So,
thank you, Mayor Lennox.
And if anybody have anything else they'd like to report on? Okay, with that, we'll move on to our cultural moment. Are we able to do the cultural moment?
Yes, we are.
H. Gordon Green. That's a name from the past.
I haven't heard his name for quite a while.
The Wellington North Cultural Roundtable presents A Cultural Moment, H. Gordon Green. H. Gordon Green was perhaps Wellington North's most famous personality. In the prime of his career in the 1960s and 70s, he was one of the better-known journalists and radio commentators in Canada. Green was a native of Arthur Township, where he was born on May 8, 1912, as the eldest of 8 children. Coming of age during the Depression, he took on a number of jobs, including farmhand at 50 cents a day, country school teacher, and a door-to-door salesman. Green was destined to become a writer and enrolled in journalism at the University of Michigan, where he sold his first story to the Toronto Star Weekly for $50. This was big money for the late 1930s. His childhood as an impoverished farm boy and experience with marginal employment opportunities had left an impression. After a brief stint at McGill studying medicine, he joined the Army. Following his service, he joined the staff of the Montreal Star. He was assigned to the Family Herald, the Star's weekly farm magazine that, at the time, was a fixture in nearly every rural and small-town household. Even though he was still in his 30s, Green had developed a down-home writing style that referred to his experiences in the 1920s and 30s. He became magazine editor and held the position for almost 20 years. As time passed, he became something of a celebrity, a role he enjoyed immensely. By the 1950s, he appeared frequently on various CBC radio programs as a commentator and panelist. Green's radio career evolved into a short syndicated commentary that was heard over dozens of radio stations in Canada. He became known as radio's old cynic, which suited his style. In the 1960s, he became engaged in politics and in 1962 accepted the nomination as the new Democratic Party candidate in the riding of Wellington-Huron. Although broadly supported in pulling the largest vote ever for the NDP, he only managed a third-place showing. H. Gordon Green published several books, including Professor Go Home and A Time to Pass Over. He continued to write a column for the Toronto Star until his death of cancer on November 3, 1991. His last column appeared the day before he died. His final visit to Arthur had been in May 1990 for the centennial reunion of Arthur District High School.
That was an entertaining cultural moment, and an interesting note on there too. The ballot that he was listed on in that run on election was against another Arthur native, Marvin Howe. So
Yeah.
with that, we'll move on to our confirming bylaw. We have a recommendation that the bylaw number 004-2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on January 27th, 2025 be read and passed. Can I move and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Burke, Councillor McCabe, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. And so all we have left is adjournment, but I'll just draw your attention to some meetings and notices. Our next regular council meeting is February 10th at 2 p.m. Mount Forest BIA meets the 11th at 8 a.m. The Mount Forest Chamber of Commerce meets the 11th at 4:30 p.m. The Arthur Chamber of Commerce meets the 12th at 5:30 p.m. And the Arthur BIA meets the 19th at 7:30 p.m. So with that, we'll move to adjournment, and I have a recommendation that the regular council meeting of January 27th, 2025 be adjourned at 8:05 p.m. Could I get a mover? Councillor McCabe, a seconder. Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're adjourned, and thanks, Karen, for orchestrating another virtual meeting. We seem to still be able to do it.
I was so nervous. I really was.
So thanks, everyone.
Night.
Thanks.